Beautiful. To the early settlers of this territory, Arizona was the Wild West. Just living day to day was an epic struggle where only the strong could survive. Those hardy souls began building their vision of a beautiful city rising out of the desert. Today, Phoenix is a unique metropolitan area that epitomizes the blending of modern American livability and unspoiled desert surroundings. And just outside of Phoenix, a world-class motorsports facility has grown along with the city, Phoenix International.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Copper World Classic from Phoenix International Raceway, the bullet-fast one-mile paved oval with a dog-leg lap that challenges the world's finest drivers. I'm Steve Evans, and it is a beautiful afternoon for racing. In our show today, two completely different types of automobiles. They have about as much in common as watermelon and pomegranates. And to tell us about the second half of the show, join me with a big welcome for our friend from NASCAR coverage on TNN, Glenn Jarrett. Welcome to ASC, Glenn.
Well, thanks, Steve. It's great to be here. The second class of cars that we're going to see race today are the super modifieds. These are truly unlimited race cars, modified in the truest sense of the word. These cars run the quickest speeds that we'll see here today. The pole winner's car, which you're going to look at here, qualified at a speed of almost 155 miles an hour. That is fast on a one-mile racetrack. The odd things about these cars is the tremendous amount of offset, how much further the right side tires stick out than the left side tires. Also, the fact that the engine sits outside of the frame rail compartment of the car. When I first got here yesterday, I saw one of these cars with the engine sitting out here. I thought, my gosh, this guy's crashed. He's not going to be able to race. He's knocked the engine out here. That's the way it's made. The reason for that is these cars run about 70% left side weight, tremendous amount of offset, a lot of staggering the tires. That helps to turn the car in the corners. The driver of this car, Ken Nichols, said that one of the things he has to be most careful about is keeping the car straight going down the straightaway. This is going to be fun, a heck of a show, and I can't wait for it to get started. Right now, let's go back up to the front of the grid with Brock Yates to see our first class.
Well, Glenn, what you're looking at right now is a classic American race car. A little bit different, not quite as much offset, not quite as radical, not quite as much wing as we saw in those super modifieds. But believe me, cars filled with tradition, run the 100-mile championship dirt races in the old days, and now on the miles like Phoenix in the hands of experts like Brad Knopfsinger. Brand new Bobby's car, and Brad, you got to feel good about sitting on the pole here in a very, very strong field.
I feel great. Bob Consani put together a heck of a race car with his crew, and they gave me the opportunity to come out here and prove myself, and hopefully we'll be good at the end. Just got to save the tires and hopefully we'll stay out front.
Brad, this is a sprint race, essentially. I mean, you really got to run hard, but can you eat the tires up if you really start hanging it out real hard, or do you have to pace yourself a little bit?
Well, I don't think I'm going to be able to pace myself. I got a lot of heavy hitters sitting around me, and I think we're going to have to be just conservative on the tires, but keep the car freed up enough to where I can still stand on the gas.
And now, for more on this race, let's go to Glenn Jarrett.
Starting in third position is the defending champion of this race, young Jeff Gordon. Now, this guy is a name to be reckoned with. At the tender age of 19, he won this race. He won the Silver Crown Series Point Championship last year, and he also ran full-time on NASCAR's Busch Grand National Circuit, in which he was Rookie of the Year. What's left, Jeff?
Hopefully to win this race. You know, we just kind of go on to the next race and hope for the best. But right now we're running good, start up front, and we just hope for a good, clean race and hope that we end up in the winner's circle again.
Well, this is kind of back to the roots of your racing. These are the kind of cars that you grew up with, these and the midgets.
Oh, yeah, you know, I love the midgets. I love the sprint cars, the Silver Crown cars, and they've all been really good to me. USAC's been good to me, and Phoenix International Raceway has been good to me. So we got a lot of good things going for us, and like I said, we just want to end up in that winner's circle.
Well, this is going to be your only appearance in the Silver Crown Series this year, so you want to make the best of it.
Oh, definitely. You know, I really love the open wheel cars, and I just don't get to run them enough, but you know, right now we want to win the Busch Grand National Championship. We got Baby Ruth, as you can see, I'm wearing all the apparel, and we just really want to make it a good run for them this year. And I think the only way we're going to be able to do that is to fully concentrate on the Busch Grand National Circuit and leave the open wheel stuff behind.
For a little more on this field, back to Brock Yates.
Well, Glenn, you're looking at the grill of a classic American race car. This number 56 dirt car being driven by Wally Pankratz is an automobile that 40 or 50 years ago you could potentially see running in the Indianapolis 500. They, over the years, were first displaced by the Roadsters and then finally by the rear-engine cars that now dominate the Speedway. But these cars continue to be competed in national championship races and mostly 100-mile dirt track races. And now they occasionally show up on asphalt tracks like Phoenix International Raceway in the hands of what we'll call great racing veterans like Wally Pankratz. I've been watching Wally race for years, and of course he runs super modifieds, he runs the midgets, he runs all kinds of stuff, and jumping in one of these big old horses got to be a lot of fun on a mile track like this, Wally.
Yeah, it is. These cars are like big old noble beasts, you know. They're kind of friendly, and they get going real fast, and it's really classic American auto racing.
Good deal. Wally Pankratz.
With that bandana, Wally looks like a classic American outlaw from the Old West, ready to steal the Silver Crown. They're about to fire him up. Stay with us. We'll be back to Phoenix for the start.
The engines are fired. 30 Silver Crown single-seaters rolling down pit lane here at Phoenix International Raceway. All powered by either 355 cubic inch alcohol burning Chevy V8s or smaller Chevy V6s with a weight advantage. But either way, difficult race cars to drive, Steve.
No, it's interesting, Brock. You talked to Jeff Gordon, who we find inside the second row. When he was born, these cars were already old racing machines.
It's true. It's true. As I said when I was talking to Pankratz, these cars are really original versions of the cars that raced in Indianapolis up until about the middle 50s when the Roadsters replaced them. They especially built for Indianapolis and other paved ovals, and then of course the mid-engine, rear-engine cars took over. These cars kind of got eased aside for a while, kind of fell out of style, then came back after USAC recreated the Silver Crown Series, and they run, as I said, both on the dirt miles and occasionally on the big asphalt ovals like Phoenix.
In fact, this is the only asphalt race they'll run this year, and it kicks off their season. We see a couple of Indianapolis drivers, Johnny Parsons Jr., Larry Dixon. A lot of these guys have been to the Speedway. Well, no matter their age or experience, they all agree on one thing, and that's the emphasis on safety. Earlier, I had a look.
Driving one of these Silver Crown cars is akin to bungee jumping and bullfighting when it comes to manly pursuits. But just because these drivers are brave, don't think they're foolhardy when it comes to their personal safety. This is the car driven by 20-year-old Jeff Gordon, who won here a year ago. Now, Jeff is one of the first to go to this netting, kind of like a window net on a stock car, which he also drives. His partner, Jimmy Sills, has them on both sides, Jeff just on the right side of the automobile. Now, the seat, unlike the old, very rigid racing seats, this one is built to give and heavily padded. He said he's hit the wall very hard and not even bruised a rib. Now, there's not just a shoulder harness, not just seat belts, but also this fifth crotch strap to keep the driver from sliding down into the seat. Now, in the newer Silver Crown cars, there's been some improvement in roll bar technology. These are called down tube chassis. See this tube going all the way to the front of the car? It gives the car a lot more rigidity, makes the roll bar a lot stronger, and just a little bit wider. And one other thing, if we can come in here. See this little lip right here? The wind on this high-speed mile track was so strong, it was actually trying to tear his helmet off. They added this to deflect it over. But as Jeff told me in our conversation just a few moments ago, the biggest safety factor in one of these cars is sitting right on your shoulders. It's called concentration all the time.
And an interesting mix of drivers in this field. Youngsters like Jeff Gordon and Eric Gordon, Robbie Stanley, Stevie Reeves, and some real veterans. Wally Pankratz, Johnny Parsons Jr., Chuck Gurney, Larry Dixon, who's a great sprint car driver in the 70s. Some of these guys have been around a long time, and all of them know their way around this racetrack, because we got a green.
And we've got our first leader. Number 10, Steve Butler from outside of the front row, followed by number 2, Brad Knopfsinger. Number 1, Jeff Gordon. 69, Mike Bliss.
He sits in the 4th spot, and Bliss is challenging now on the outside. He's challenging Gordon. And right behind him, down low in the black, number 11 is George Snyder, better known in the racing fraternity as Ziggy.
Yeah, a veteran out of Bakersfield, California, a longtime friend of A.J. Foyt, drove a lot of Foyt's race cars over the years at the Brickyard. A good tussle going on between 69 Mike Bliss and the white car of number 1 Jeff Gordon for that 3rd position. You notice early on, or even though they're darting around a bit, everybody's giving everybody else a little bit of room with these open wheel cars. They can be brutal when they touch rubber.
Sure can. As Steve Butler continues to lead. A good, solid sprint car driver, some Indianapolis experience out of Indiana. Kind of a columnist for some of the racing magazines. Does a good job. And here comes Mike Bliss down low, challenging Knopfsinger for second place in the red and black 69. That's Knopfsinger up high. But, ooh, a touch against the wall. That's the number 6 car of Eric Gordon. He just got up against the fence in turn number 2. Apparently has bent something or something broken on the race car. He's headed for the pits, but he fortunately did not hurt himself or the race car too badly.
The one race car that may be hurt, number 2, Brad Knopfsinger. He's in second place, but you can see there's something flapping on that race car. A piece of the body apparently loose or has been dislodged somehow, and that is going to bring out a caution for debris. They're concerned there may be some parts and pieces out there that can puncture a tire. So we're going to
circulate here under yellow as Eric Gordon, who started 11th, fine young race driver, unrelated to Jeff, but still very much in contention to run real well here. These kind of cars and sprinters as well. But apparently finished for the day here at Phoenix. We'll be back with more of the Silver Crown cars right after this. Okay, drag race to the line. Green flag out, and Steve Butler in the 10 retakes the lead that he's held from the first few feet of the race. But look at this. Mike Bliss in the 69, that black and red car on the outside, challenges Knopfsinger for second place as they head down into the dogleg. Knopfsinger holds him off, but Mike Bliss really aggressive. He's got third, taking away from Jeff Gordon. So Mike Bliss right now on a charge. Here they come to complete the lap. Butler, Knopfsinger, Bliss, and Gordon, top 4.
When Bliss made his move, Jeff Gordon swung out from his low line and got right behind Bliss and has now gotten around him. So it's Jeff Gordon in the number 3 spot.
Well, there's your leader, Steve Butler, coming down into turn number 3. And right behind him, Knopfsinger. Bliss made a charge and then fell back a little bit. So he's given up a place to Jeff Gordon, who briefly fell back to 4th place.
But now Jeff Gordon, that number 1 car, the series champion from 91, is challenging Brad Knopfsinger for the 2nd spot. On the inside is Gordon, and even though he's got the shorter way around, he scrubs up a lot of speed. Knopfsinger hangs on.
That's right. Knopfsinger now moves up to take a shot at Butler. Down low, off turn 4, can't make it work. Butler holds on, but these 4 cars are just running under a blanket right now, and right behind them is the 11 car of George Snyder. So a freight train running around this mile oval here at Phoenix.
Well, as Jeff Gordon told you earlier, Brock, he's only racing 1 Silver Crown event, and you're looking at it. He can't say if he has a poor showing here, oh, well, we'll get him next time. For him, and this season, there is no next time.
Well, for a young man like Jeff Gordon, the future is seemingly lying to the south, where Winston Cup cars, really the technology in those cars are a lot more similar than jumping into a rear engine car at the Speedway. These are front engine cars, basically understeering automobiles, much like a stock car, even though they don't look alike. But it's easier to make the move from here up down there than it is to go to an Indianapolis car, where the technology and the chassis tuning is totally different.
All right, we're looking at the number 30 car, Chuck Gurney. He's battling Jimmy Sills for that 5th position. That's Gurney in the black car. Gurney's already had a great weekend here at Phoenix. He won the midget car division in earlier competition.
Chuck Gurney, terrific driver out of Livermore, California, running one of the old-fashioned, old-style cars. Notice the grill work and the beautiful curved, rounded body work, as opposed to some of the kind of flatter nose, more aerodynamic, but less pretty cars up ahead of him.
And they run that kind of car because they love the nostalgia look. They can afford a brand new piece, maybe a little updating of technology. They like that car. It's got history.
And there's another one, a couple of cars back, the red 30 of Wally Pankratz's, which is an identical car. So these are classic race cars. It's just beautiful. And these long tails, even the more modern ones, are still real pretty to look at. There is Knopfsinger being challenged by Jeff Gordon. Right in front of him is Butler, and right behind him is the 69 car of Mike Bliss.
And on the inside, the number 2, the orange car, Brad Knopfsinger, going for the lead. He has gotten around number 10, Steve Butler. Butler bowls in behind him.
And look at Bliss trying to get around on the high side of both Jeff Gordon and Butler, but he can't do it, falls in, but he may have 3rd place.
Yes, he does.
Bliss has gotten by Jeff Gordon for 3rd place, so we had a couple of position changes up front on that lap. as Brad Nossinger now begins to open out on Steve Butler. And look at, here comes Bliss down low. Took a shot, took a peek, but decided he wasn't going to try Butler down on the inside as they go down into turn number 1. But up high, Mike Bliss tries him on the high side coming off turn 2. Gets pinched a little bit, gives way, and falls in behind Butler as they head into turn 3.
Well, Mike Bliss has had his share of being second. That's what he was to Chuck Gurney in the midget race we talked about earlier on. Now he doesn't want that. He wants the lead.
Oh, look at this. He made that. They darted down low as they come down off turn number 4, but still can't make it work and falls in. Butler holds him off. And look at this. Here is Gurney challenging Jeff Gordon for the 4th spot in that old black number 30, the beautiful automobile. So there is Steve Butler, right behind him Mike Bliss, down the back straightaway with these silver crown automobiles, about 700 horsepower on methanol, no wings, a driver's kind of race car, and these guys doing a tremendous job here. This is a fine field of race drivers.
And Mike Bliss is all over the place. He'll take any line that is necessary to move up a position. That's the 69 car, the 6 on top of the 9 on the nose of the red and black machine. Boy, he is really going for it, Brock. He didn't want to be second again.
Well, it works up high. Apparently, he's staying up high on the racetrack, but he can't seem to. Now, the last time around, he went low, trying to get underneath Butler, but Butler stays wide and kind of closes him off on the low side. Now he's going to try Butler up high. Look at this. Jeff Gordon in the 1 comes in to play a little bit there, but Butler holding him off for second place as they charge down into the dog leg.
And so far, Gordon has run a very consistent line. The middle of the racetrack, then down low through the turns, back up to the middle of the racetrack, not darting around, just content to hang right there for now anyway in that 4th position.
But a man possibly to watch is right behind him in that black number 30. That is Chuck Gurney. Gurney started back in the 10th spot and now is up into 5th.
And here comes Bliss on the outside, the 69 car. Yes, he gets around 10. Steve Butler for the 2nd position. Bliss finally gets it done.
He worked on it for about 3 or 4 laps and finally got around Steve Butler. And now, look at this. The yellow number 20 of Johnny Parsons Jr. moves by Gurney into the 5th spot and begins to challenge Jeff Gordon for 4th.
Oh, and a little bit of smoke coming out of the back of the Johnny Parsons Jr. car, the yellow number 20. He had enough power, enough handling, certainly, to move through this field and get around into that 4th position. That's a car we'll keep our eyes on. There was definitely some smoke out of the machine. It appears to have cleared up now, though.
Member of a great racing family, his late father, Johnny Parsons, won the 1950 Indianapolis 500. But I don't think Johnny Parsons Jr. is going to go to the Cincinnati. Lost an engine as he made his bid for 4th place. I wonder, are we going to get a caution here? Because, yeah, Johnny's signaling everybody by on the outside. Going to have to come in. Tough break. Really a great guy, too. All these guys are just good, real racing gentlemen. But Johnny Parsons Jr. is special one, not in it for today. I'm afraid out for the afternoon.
But meanwhile, back up front, number 10, Steve Butler is challenging number 2, Brad Nossinger, for the lead. That is for the lead. The cars up in front will be lap traffic they'll have to contend with.
Oh, here comes Nossinger on the outside. Bliss hanging right with him. Jeff Gordon's fallen back a little bit. Here they come up on Brett Kading in one of the slower cars. He's not up to speed right now. He's kind of in the middle of the racetrack. Going to be interesting to see who tries to go where. Butler down low, the same way with Bliss, and they both got by Nossinger in that little jiggle there with Brett Kading trying to get out of the way, but he was sandwiched in the middle of everybody.
That's right. Nossinger certainly didn't do anything wrong there. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And it opened up the opportunity for Butler and Mike Bliss to come around, and now Nossinger has to go back on the attack. Right now, let's go down to the pits with Brock.
How about Johnny Parsons Jr., who made a great run toward the front, got up into 4th, was running real good, and then all of a sudden it just came apart. What happened, John?
Well, we lost the power steering. I think the pump let go. We were going to win. It felt real good. I was just sitting on the guys. Feel real confident with this little V6. Gene Nolan, the guy's been working hard all winter. We would have won her.
These things get a real handful without power steering, right?
Oh, yeah. And we're leaking fluid on the racetrack, so it's really unsafe. We're creating an unsafe situation, and you can't steer them, so I had to park it.
Well, we're sorry. Yeah, good run.
Thank you, Brian.
Well, from the team standpoint, that's certainly less expensive than a blown engine. They can fix that for a couple of bucks. We're looking at Jeff Gordon currently in fourth. He started third, so his progress has been to the rear so far for the defending champion here in this Silver Crown race in Phoenix.
Yeah, I got to correct myself here. I said most of them were big Chevy V8s, but there are a few GM V6s in this field. But the power plant of choice really remains the big V8s.
Oh, yeah, the development is still on with the V6s. And here's a battle for fifth. 26, Jim Keeker challenging Chuck Gurney, number 30, and he gets him.
Well, Jim Keeker started back in 7th spot, Steve, and fell back a little bit, but now seems to kind of got it all gathered together, and he is moving in on the leaders.
Well, another guy who's moving, and that is 69, Mike Bliss. He looks like he is reeling in number 10, Steve Butler. There you see the two of them. The second car in your picture is Mike Bliss.
And they have broken away from the pack. Knopfsinger, after that little, not a bobble, but trouble when he lost the lead, has fallen well back. So you got to wonder whether he's got a tire going on him or something. But these two guys are really charging now. And look at Bliss, always able to work up a little bit higher than everybody else. And now I'm going to try Steve Butler on the outside, and maybe will he draft him down into turn number 1? Let's see. No, not enough speed coming off turn 4 to do it that way, but look at this. He goes up high, through turn number 2, headed down toward the dog leg. Now he'll try him down low. That won't work, and Butler holds on to the lead.
A regular square dance going on between these two, Mike Bliss and Steve Butler. But in the pits, you were right, Brock. Something's wrong with the number 2 car. So wrong that Brad Knopfsinger, who led this race only moments ago, is now out of it. Stay with us. We'll be back to Phoenix. Back in Phoenix, where Steve Butler and Mike Bliss continue to bang on each other. They're running first and second, followed by Jeff Gordon a ways back. Jim Keeker, Chuck Gurney in the 5th spot. Number 6, Wally Pankratz, Russ Gamester, number 7, then Brent Gating, George Snyder, and Larry Dixon in that order. We are about 27 laps in right now.
And here are your leaders coming up on lap car 48, Gary Irvin. He signals them by on the inside. Butler down low. Here are your 3rd and 4th place cars. The white number 1 of Jeff Gordon and the white 26 of Jim Keeker, who's on a tear right now. Keeker challenging on the outside as they come off turn number 2. And now let's go down to the pits with Glenn Jarrett.
Pole center and race leader Brad Knopfsinger. Brad, you had a great run going there. What happened?
Well, it started slowing down just a little bit. I felt a bump, and I think it's when we had something explode in the drive line and it cut a fuel line.
Looks like you pretty much had things going your way out there. You had charged back to the front. Didn't look like anybody could do anything with you.
Well, I got a little bit of a bad start, but then once I got to working with the car a little bit, I got ahead of them, and the car was performing well. The SEC Consani car, it just performed absolutely great. I guess I was running our lifts a little too hard early.
Well, better luck next time.
Thank you.
Well, a piece of bad racing luck for Brad Knopfsinger. Right now, it doesn't appear anybody can run with this duo. Number 10, Steve Butler out in front. Number 69, Mike Bliss, who wants to replace him there.
Excellent racing by these two guys. Just no more than a couple of car lengths apart at max. And Bliss continues to work that high groove, but not successfully. Steve Butler holds them off as they circulate this very quick 1 mile oval here at Phoenix, Arizona. And Butler now down into turn number 2. Ooh, and Bliss bunts him a little bit in the nerve bar, and Butler got a little loose there for a second, but holds on no problem at this point. That is Wally Pankratz and Russ Gamester. Gamester appears to be either losing some fuel or possibly a little smoke coming out of there. It's hard to tell from our vantage point, but Gamester gamely continues, as it were, but there's something, either fluid, looks like fluid, Steve, coming out of there.
Whatever it is, he's unaware of it. He is trying to take 6th place away from number 56, Wally Pankratz, the car immediately in front of him. Well, now it seems to have gone away. Maybe it only happens in the inertia of the turns. Here's our leaders again.
That is Butler and Bliss moving around the number 24 automobile, a lap car of Chip Thomas, who started back at 30th spot and not running up to speed with the leaders on this day. As Bliss down low, drafting attempt, coming down into turn number 1. They'll contest for it, but he gives way at the last second, and Butler holds on to the lead.
They almost made contact again. Mike Bliss has served notice to Butler with that little tap earlier and a near miss there that he better give way. And look at this, Bliss down low, and he makes it work. The car obviously running out of tires. Both of them are. You can see by the way they're moving around where they were welded to the pavement before.
So that duel finally is resolved in Mike Bliss's favor after he worked on Butler for 5 or 6 laps. And look at this, as often happens, once he gets by him, he opens out a pretty substantial lead. So it was clear that Steve Butler was doing a good job of holding off what was obviously a little quicker car. But look at this. Here comes the 26 car of Jim Keeker up to challenge Mike Butler. That white automobile has left Jeff Gordon, who he was running with for a while, well behind back in 4th place, and Jim Keeker is moving up to challenge Steve Butler for the 2nd spot. Jim Keeker started from 7th spot, sat back there for a while in the early stages of the race, wasn't much of a factor, and suddenly he is up amongst them and going to challenge one more time. High side, and he will take 2nd place coming off turn number 4. A great pass. He takes 2nd from Steve Butler.
And watching his car in comparison to Butler, I think he's got more tires than anybody else, Brock. He laid back there. He ran his same line around the racetrack. He may have more rubber to deal with in the final laps here.
Well, it's very possible. He sure made a beautiful move on Steve Butler, a very difficult place to pass. And he just whistled around him up on top coming off turn number 4.
And now he's going to go for the lead. He is pulling it very rapidly on Mike Bliss, coming up ever so steadily.
There's the red 69 of the leader, Mike Bliss, the white 26 of Jim Keeker, who is reeling him in as they came off turn number 2 and went through the dogleg. Keeker made up maybe 5 or 6 car lengths, so look at him. He's right on the rear nerve bar of Mike Bliss. He's come like a shot, Steve, in the last few laps.
He sure has, and you can tell by the roll bar, those forward bars, as I showed you earlier on Jeff Gordon's car. That is a pretty contemporary Silver Crown car, and look at him go inside. They almost touch. Mike Bliss has his hands full with Jim Keeker. Keeker, who just kind of laid back, played possum for most of the race, is now center stage.
Okay, as they go down through turns 3 and 4, Keeker lost a little bit as they went down through the dogleg, but now he's right up on Bliss one more time. Takes a peek on the inside, decides no, that's not the move to make. But look at this, down low. Bliss got high, Keeker took advantage of it and grabs the lead.
A record crowd here at Phoenix, estimated at 37,000 are on their feet as Jim Keeker has passed Mike Bliss for the lead. And I believe there again, Bliss doesn't have enough tire left to keep that car where he wants it.
Well, he got way up high into turn number 1, and Mike could not hold off Keeker. Keeker running really, really well with that white 26 as he moves away from Mike Bliss now, pulls out maybe 3 or 4 car lengths. Bliss comes back at him down through the dog leg. Let's see, Bliss down low. He's going to make a move on him. Can he make it work? Off turn number 4, we'll see. But Keeker stays high, and the car, as you say, is working up on top of this racetrack, and that's what the difference was there. Is he withstood that challenge of Mike Bliss.
Keeker seems to be able to put his car anywhere he wants to. Not so Bliss. And he also appears, Brock, to not be trying to extend this lead. If he can just keep Bliss at bay, he'll be happy.
Well, he's moving in a couple of lap cars. Be interesting to see what happens here. Keeker moves around on the high side. Let's not forget now, Steve, that Keeker is in one of the V6s. That's a Bob East V6 Chevy. Bliss back there on the final lap in one of the 355 small block V8. So right now, the V6 is dominating here.
And Keeker, who only ran 1 race in all of 1991 at IRP, where he was 3rd on the half-mile pavement, is leading here at the Silver Crown opener in Phoenix. The V6 is afforded a bit of a weight advantage, and he takes advantage of that. Probably, as I said before, he had more tires due to the lighter weight of that V6 Chevrolet automobile. What a fine job for Jim Keeker, and a great race for number 69, Mike Bliss. A lot of fellas had problems. These two, well, when they got to the front, they stayed there. Stay with us. We'll be back to talk to them, and of course, we'll have the big modifieds coming up later on. Phoenix, where half of our racing show today is complete. The Silver Crowns. Well, here's the top 10. Jim Keeker outsmarted him, maybe outdrove him a little bit. Mike Bliss was right there. Steve Butler, Jeff Gordon, and Wally Pankratz, the top 5. 6 through 10, well, it looks something like this. Chuck Gurney, who had some problems. Car was very strong. George Snyder, the veteran, finished 7th. Lidl McSpadden in 8th. Larry Dixon 9th, and Robbie Stanley in the 10th position. Right now, let's go down to victory lane. Brock Yates is with a man who's got to be really tickled with himself. What a surprise.
All ready? Is he makeup? We all finished now? Congratulations, Jim. Great show.
That was great.
You just kind of poked your way up there. All of a sudden you were there and just kind of picked them off one by one.
Well, we got on the start, Eric Gordon lost a motor or something down here and won. And I was just getting ready to pass him, going around him on the outside, and he had to go up and didn't leave me much room, and I lost a few spots there to some pretty tough guys. And I didn't really know I was leading it till about 3 laps ago.
These guys weren't telling you from the pits. They were cheering you all the way. I thought you could probably see them from here.
I couldn't see much. It's pretty much a blur from out there.
I would imagine. Great show. Super race.
It was a lot of fun. We'll be back next year.
I hope so. Congratulations.
Thanks.